everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for choosing my video to watch. What I'm going to be talking about today is top 5 books for business and management if you're working in a company. So you're either working in a booth or you're an entrepreneur. So these are the books that I'm kind of just recommending. These are the books that kind of like helped me in my corporate career, so I thought they might be useful for others as well. So I've got 5 books here. This is just part of my reading list over the last couple of years, and what I'm doing is, if you want to have a chance to win one of the books, you can go onto my website and leave your email address, because what we'll be doing, we'll be pulling names out of a hat and we'll be, just kind of like picking somebody to get some of the books. So if you're interested in getting something for free, you know, maybe you want to go on and check that out as well. So, right, I'm going to do this like in reverse order. Bear in mind, I have read a lot of business books. I mean, for quite a few years, when I would go on holiday, you know, rather than just taking like chick lit books or fiction books, I would take business books on holiday, right? So I've read a lot of business books. So these are in my top 5 are just like, you know, the creme de la creme, or the ones that are most recent that I kind of thought would be really helpful. So in 5th place then, we've got Getting Things Done by David Allen. As you can tell, I am the sort of person that doesn't switch off. Often not a good thing, but I'm always kind of working, always trying to get things done. I am that person that goes on holiday and as soon as I walk into the resort, I'm like, what's the Wi-Fi code? You know, that is me basically, which isn't the healthiest, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie. But this book here, Getting Things Done by David Allen, is very good in terms of just how to organize yourself, how to organize your time, how to organize your email folders, how to organize stuff at home so that you're not just like hoarding stuff, you know, that you're actually getting organized about stuff that needs doing even in your home. So I would say this is really useful if you're just the sort of person that always feels overwhelmed, you've got to-do lists all over the place, and you feel as though you're not getting things done. I think I remember reading this book on holiday once before we came back, and it really helped me just to kind of like organize my thought processes and organize how I then actually went about different tasks. So that's in 5th place. And then in 4th place, this book is really old, right? It's tiny. I can't even remember when I first read this book or saw it. Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson is a tiny little like fable type story. It's like, you know, 90 odd pages. It's about dealing with change, which, you know, if you work in companies, particularly if you work in large companies, this is really relevant, because we're having to deal with change all of the time in our personal lives, which we seem to manage a lot better in our personal lives, probably because we're the boss of ourselves, than we do in our work lives. So it's just a really cool story. And I remember being given this book for free. I can't remember what was going on, some change of strategy or something or other. And these books were being given out for free and you were kind of like encouraged to read it. And it is basically just about how the world around us changes and how we then react to that. I would say that this book is really good if you're maybe, you know, leading on a big project or a big change program, and you kind of just want people to just maybe think a little bit differently and try to kind of get their heads in a different space, then this book might help. They might think it's a little bit cheesy though, so just maybe go easy on it. You know, it's called Who Moved My Cheese, and it is a bit cheesy, but the messages in it are quite relevant and quite true as well, to be honest. My next 2 books are also both about change and leading and managing through change. I'm going to start first with this one here, which is Switch. How to change things when change is hard. Now, in my day job, for some years, I've been working with big change programs, working on transformation, and I've been to some companies where change is really hard. I mean, it's like, you know, these companies are the opposite of like a Google or a Microsoft and an Apple, which are very kind of like fast-paced, fast-moving. You know, I've worked for companies that are really like kind of like dinosaurs or submarines that are very, very difficult to turn around. So this book is very good just in terms of some of the techniques, the tips, the strategies for implementing change in organizations where it's really difficult. And there's some, what I really like about this, there are some really nice case studies and examples that you can actually use, and some really kind of like practical tips. And they have also got a website, Chip and Dan Heath have got a website set up where you can get some additional resources to use as well. One of the things I love about this book is the stories and storytelling, which is really key when you're trying to sometimes get quite difficult concepts across to people, and also when you're trying to get things to stick, which leads me on to their next book. So Chip and Dan Heath, and in second place, Made to Stick is their next book. This book is key in terms of if you're making change or you're kind of implementing a new strategy, this book helps you understand how you can distill that strategy down into stories or into bite-sized chunks that make it easier for people to then absorb what it is that you're trying to tell them and actually then take action in the direction that you want them to go. So Made to Stick, I think, is key. One of the things I love about this is it talks about, for example, when the CEO of a company is kind of trying to get their strategy across, and they're kind of using words like, you know, we want to generate more stakeholder value and blah, 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 blah. And everybody kind of switches off because that's kind of just jargon and nobody really gets it. And actually what people at the coalface want, who are the people that you actually want to implement the strategy, they just need it in plain English. They just need a story that explains the implementation of that strategy. So what I mean by that is, if the new strategy is around customer service, what they need is the stories about good customer service. So that might be stories about how XYZ salesperson went way above and beyond the call of duty to deliver really great customer service to Joe Bloggs the customer. And that is more useful than just a kind of like bland, you know, kind of strap line around strategy. So those two books, which I think kind of go together, by Chip and Dan Heath, Switch and Made to Stick, are kind of like in my top 5 for good reason. And then my first book, the book that's number 1, if you're working in a company, particularly if you're working with consultants. And let's face it, if you're in a big company, the chances are that sometime in your career, you're gonna have to work with consultants. This book is called Who Touched Base in My Thought Shower? And it's by a guy called Stephen Poole. And the subtitle is A Treasury of Unbearable Office Jargon. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been in corporate life for a long time, like some nearly 30 years, and I have heard a lot of unbearable office jargon. To be honest, I probably use a lot of it myself, because when you're in that world for so long, you almost can't help speaking in this like nonsense language that absolutely means nothing. So, for example, the term stakeholder that I just used there. In fact, if anybody can think of a different word for stakeholder, email me back. And I mean just one word, like not lots of words, just one word for stakeholder. Anyway, so this book is about all of those like ridiculous sayings that you hear, like touch base, like ballpark, like reach out. You know, people kind of say now, instead of saying I'm just going to call somebody, they go, I'm going to reach out to such and such. Or I think my favorite one is actually circle back. I'm going to circle back to you, which obviously means that you're never going to hear from them again. But that's one of the sayings that's often used. I have bought this book as a gift for people that I've been working with on big projects, just because we've had lots of meetings with like really unbearable like corporate office jargon. And so we kind of just buy this to keep us sane, and then kind of like flick through some of the titles, you know, like ducks in a row, let's get our ducks in a row, you know, circle back, my favorite, bucket, brainstorming, thought showers, best practice, benchmarking, all of it, it's all in there. And basically what Stephen Poole has done is he has put a funny definition to each of these elements of jargon. So it's just a really funny book. It kind of lightens the mood in an office, particularly if you are going through like a big heavy change program or some sort of implementation that is actually quite heavy. This book kind of lightens the mood. It's also good as a good kind of like joke gift if you're working with some consultants and they're kind of doing your head in with the amount of jargon and also the number of slides that they're producing on a daily basis. This would be perfect for them. Okay, so that's my top 5. As I said before, if you want to win one of them, head over to my website, leave your email address. But I'd love it if you would subscribe to the channel. Tell me what you think of the video. If you want to see me review some more books, get those recommendations into me and I will add them to my reading list. Give me a thumbs up, do that or that if you didn't like it, okay? Thanks very much for watching and I'll see you again soon. Bye.